Hello and welcome to my talk on the research project I completed which investigated the impact of novel enrichment on the welfare of captive rhesus macaques using the Animal Welfare Assessment Grid. The aim of my research was to identify the impact of novel enrichments on the welfare of captive rhesus macaques. Measuring welfare is essential if we are to continue improving the lives of animals in captivity. However, welfare is notoriously difficult to measure and often cannot be scored with the same parameters for different species or environments. In many cases, there are no gold standards for measuring the welfare of captive animals. Therefore, a universal welfare assessment tool that is both specific and objective is necessary. The Animal Welfare Assessment Grid, which will be referred to as the AWAG for the remainder of this talk, is a unique web-based software application designed for capturing, storing and visualising animal welfare assessment data over a lifetime for groups and individual animals. The AWAG reflects all 5 domains and includes a temporal component of any suffering, allowing welfare to be quantified and presented in a graphical way that is easily understood and can serve to highlight key events that affect well-being. The AWAG is made up of 4 parameters: physical, psychological, environmental and procedural. Within each parameter is a list of species and situation-specific factors, as shown by this diagram. Each factor is scored between 1 and 10, 1 being the lowest and therefore best welfare, and 10 being the highest and therefore worst welfare. The sum of all factor scores results in the parameter average score. Parameter average scores are plotted on the 4 axes of the AWAG. The sum of the area occupied by the AWAG, which is shown in green on this diagram, results in the cumulative welfare assessment score, which is then plotted on the cumulative welfare assessment graph for long-term welfare measures. For this study, a higher and a lower ranking female macaque were selected from 4 different breeding groups, 2 high impact and 2 low impact groups. 2 different novel enrichments were selected, a water bath and food kongs filled with shavings and raisins. These enrichments were selected to remove any bias, promote different natural behaviours and to facilitate a comparison. Data was collected continuously for 7 minutes at 5 time points throughout the day via observations through the viewing window of their enclosure. To show a correlation between enrichment and AWAG score, the macaques were observed before enrichment had been introduced, immediately after enrichment was introduced, 1 hour after enrichment had been introduced, immediately after the enrichment had been removed, and then finally 2 hours after the enrichment had been removed. There were 3 control tests where no enrichment was given and recordings were still taken at the same 5 time points throughout the day. We hypothesised that the introduction of novel enrichments would result in lower AWAG scores and stressful events or veterinary interventions would result in a higher score. The data supported the hypothesis. There were significant behavioural observations regarding rank and interaction with enrichment which may shape how we use enrichment in group macaques in the future. This study did show that the AWAG provides us with a tool to understand the welfare of animals far better than we have before. It gives us an objective view of welfare so we can see slight deteriorations that would otherwise go unnoticed. Using statistical analysis alongside the cumulative welfare assessment graph and behavioural observations, there was a clear indication that both the water bath and the food kong improved the welfare of both higher and lower ranking rhesus macaques. It is important to note that the positive impact provided by the enrichment continued even 2 hours after removing the novel enrichment. Hopefully this project encourages centres housing rhesus macaques to use novel enrichments to improve quality of life. I would like to close by saying a very heartfelt thank you to Professor Sarah Wolfenson for creating the AWAG, for being a pioneer in animal welfare science and for being a brilliant project supervisor. I would also like to say a huge thank you to the Animal Welfare Foundation who supported this project generously, and to the Centre for Macaques in Salisbury for allowing me to run this project at the facility and for the staff for supporting me throughout. I would like to thank the NC3Rs for funding the development of the software and for Public Health England for developing and working in collaboration to improve the software. Lastly, I would like to say thank you to the University of Surrey and thank you to you for listening.